What is a right? Objective morality explained. To understand what a right is, what morality is, how it is objective, and how it can actually be tested and observed in the real world, we must first understand what morality actually means. As we see above, morality is about that which is right versus that which is wrong. So, what is a right? Firstly, it is not something that is given to us by someone else, for example by government legislation like many people currently believe. It is something that you have inherently by default as a result of existing in the universe. A right is that which is true, fact, proper, correct, hence it's right. A wrong is that which is false, untrue, incorrect, hence it's wrong. We use the same meaning for all the above words. For example, if you answer a question correctly, you gave the correct answer, you gave the true answer, you gave the proper answer, you gave the right answer. Likewise, if you answer a question incorrectly, then you gave the incorrect answer, you gave the false answer, you gave the wrong answer. If, for instance, I say that I own myself and that no one else owns me, this statement is true, correct, fact, it's right. Therefore, it is a right, since my body is indeed rightfully mine, not anyone else's. If, however, I say that I own you and that you belong to me, this statement is false, incorrect, untrue, wrong. Therefore, it is a wrong. This is all about understanding property, which is where we get the word proper, meaning right, because all rights are property rights. It's about understanding what's yours and understanding what's not yours. Property is that which is yours. Your life, your body, your freedom, your consent, your labor, your property, your rights. Now that we have defined what a right is, we now need to define what a right action is. A right action is an action that, when taken, does not violate or infringe upon the rights and/or property of others, that is, their body, their life, their freedom, their property, etc. It's a right action because the action in question does not violate property, which is not rightfully mine to do what I want with it. A wrong action, on the other hand, is an action that, when taken, does violate or infringe upon the rights and/or property of others. It is a wrong action because it does violate property, which is not mine to do whatever I want with it, because it belongs to someone else, not me. In short, a right action does not cause harm, injury, or loss to someone else, but a wrong action does cause harm, injury, or loss to someone else. We have now defined rights and right actions, which are all about understanding what is yours and what is not yours. This is what a right is, and thus what morality is. This now leaves one thing. How can morality be objective? Can we test it? Can we readily observe it in the real world? Objective morality is a natural law, a law that is inherent to the universe itself and was not made into existence by man as opposed to man-made law, that is legislation. Natural law is not a theory, a belief system, or any sort of mysticism. No, natural law is a science. That means it can actually be tested and observed by anyone. Just like we can observe gravity when we let go of an object to observe it fall down to the ground, we can also observe objective morality being in effect in our world. And like gravity, it was not made into existence by man via writing down on pieces of paper like man-made law. It is inherent, always in effect, and thus we are bound by it. Objective morality is also referred to as the sum or law of freedom and works quantitatively, meaning the amount of freedom that can be observed in a society is directly proportional to the amount of people in a society whose actions are moral, that is, they are right, they do not violate the rights and property of others. If most people in a society are moral in their actions and that which they advocate and support, this will be reflected in that society in terms of how free they are. Since most people's actions and support do not violate other people's property and rights, you will have a society where most people have their rights and property intact, their lives, bodily ownership, labor, freedom, consent, etc. You will have a society where these are not being violated, hence, one of freedom, one of peace, one of coexistence. In short, the society will be more free. However, if most people in a society are immoral in their actions and that which they advocate and support, this will also be reflected in terms of how less free that society is, since most people's actions and that which they support do violate other people's property and rights. you will have a society where most people do not have their rights and property intact, their lives, bodily ownership, labor, freedom, consent, etc. You will have a society where these are being violated, a society of violence, aggression, tyranny, oppression, coercion, theft, fear, and slavery. In short, a society that is less free. In short, as morality increases in a society, freedom increases in that society. And as morality decreases in a society, freedom decreases in that society. Now that we have the sum, or law, of freedom understood, we can use this to observe anywhere in the world to gauge how free or how enslaved they are. Pick anywhere on Earth right now, any society, any country, any civilization, and ask yourself if that society is free or enslaved. The amount of restrictions and government legislation introduced during 2020 onward is a good way to help with this freedom measuring process. How many people complied and obeyed with the myriad of man-made laws and restrictions that violated people's rights, liberties, and freedoms during this time? And what were those societies like as a result? Were they free, or were they enslaved? Even more so than the tyranny of 2020 onwards, the biggest violator of human rights by far is this belief in this concept called authority, aka government. The belief that some people have the right to tell others what they can and cannot do with their own lives and also what they must do, and that if they disobey, then violence will be done to them. Obey us or else. This is the nature of government. This is not freedom. This is slavery. And right now, most people on Earth in almost every society, country, and civilization believe in and support this ideology known as statism. They play the game of politics and voting, the act of choosing a master that everyone must then obey. To live under a master is to not be free. So right there, your freedom is a property of yours and everyone else's that has been violated, taken away along with every other property that gets violated when those calling themselves government use threats to tell everyone else what they can and cannot do with their own property, and use order followers, i.e. police, to enforce that threat. So one only needs to look at the most statist, governmental obedient societies to objectively see how not free they are, versus societies that do not believe in this concept of authority, aka statism and government, and see how free they are in comparison. Cherán, Mexico is an example of a town that has abandoned the belief in government and is one of the few examples out there that is more free as a result of not subscribing to a belief system that violated other people's property. They do not have a master telling them what they can and can't do with their own lives, and they do not live under threats of violence if they don't obey someone claiming to be authority. This abandonment in the belief in authority has led to a very peaceful and freedom-oriented town. Look at the world right now, in particular anywhere in which statism, the belief in authority exists, and ask yourself if that society is truly free or not. By default, if you believe in and support government, you are immoral, and that is because government is immoral. Telling others how they can live their own lives and threatening them with violence if they disobey is not only wrong, but to take other people's freedom away makes them a slave. Government is slavery, and so if you support government, then that makes you a supporter of slavery. If most people in a society support slavery, in this case statism aka government, you will get a society that reflects this, one of tyranny, loss of rights, loss of property, and societal enslavement, and that's exactly what we have as a result of most people's belief in authority, their compliance and obedience to said belief. That is how you can observe objective morality working in real time right now in any given society on Earth. Most people support immorality in the form of the biggest violator of rights and property, and therefore we have a world that reflects this. And anywhere that doesn't have this or any other violator of rights and property as a belief system supported by its people is more free as a result. Or at the very least, a society that has a less tyrannical regime will have more freedom than a society that has a more tyrannical regime. However, the degree to which one is ruled over by someone else ultimately does not change the fact that the society is not free, since true freedom means no ruler and no master. Once again, as morality increases, freedom increases. As morality decreases, freedom decreases. Here is a short summary of what a right is, and now you know what a right actually is. what objective morality is, and how it can actually be tested and observed in our world right now.